hosted the Ngāti Whātua tribe for a battle fort known as Te Horotiu Pā. Some of those rituals that were performed in here, including ritualistic cannibalism and head shrinking. A little bit of a walk, hey?
Yeah.
So, this is the last stair climb of the evening. We're about to head into Albert Park, which is known for a few weird things. So, Albert Park these days is mainly a resting spot for uni students to come and eat their lunch during, in between classes. I'm one of those students, but there's a few other things that are associated with this. One is the air raid tunnels that run through this park. There's around 7 to 8 kilometers of air raid tunnels that remain from the Second World War. But prior to that, this place hosted the Ngāti Whātua tribe for a battle fort known as Te Horotiu Pā. So we're going to talk a little bit about Te Horotiu Pā, what some of those rituals that were performed in here, including ritualistic cannibalism and head shrinking. So we're going to go through there. I'm going to teach you guys how to shrink heads.
No idea.
Come with me on a weird journey to head shrinking and cannibalism. Take a seat over here, guys. Can you feel anything in this area?
なんか感じますか？で、
Not really. I don't have any sense of that kind of things. I really want to see the ghost.
You want to see a ghost?
Yes.
I don't have that sort of power, but maybe you'll catch something in audio. These trees that we're standing under at the moment are known as Ngā Rākau o Te Mate, or the trees of the dead. Now these trees were used for specific rituals, including draining the bloods and oils from human bodies to prepare them for consumption. This park, prior to it being a park, was actually a Māori village and a battle fort known as Te Horotiu Pā. The preparation process for consuming a human lies within it mythological tales as well. So the mythological tales begin with women themselves. So we believe in the Māori culture, when you are preparing a body to be consumed, only women can handle the meat and bones of that body. The reason being that females are the creators of life. So with that creation life magic also comes with it the opposing force of basically blood magic rituals. One of those blood magic rituals includes all of the karakia and the songs that are prepared over the body. Ancient flutes would be played, known as ko'o'o. They make noises like ooh, ooh, sort of like the sound of a spirit as well. Usually these flutes would be made with the femur bone of a human. So even the flutes themselves are dark, are dark instruments basically. And these instruments would be played while the bodies are being prepped for consumption. The males would not be able to handle any of the meat because as women are the ones that possess life creation magic, so too are they who handle the dead as well. So what they would do is they would hang these bodies up in the trees that you're sitting under right now. Those bodies would slit the throats of the bodies, and all of that blood and oils would soak into the grounds that we're sitting in right now. which is why I asked you if there's anything weird that you feel in this area, because I don't even like standing under that tree. Now, what you would do is you would sever and dismember the body parts into separate sections, and then they would create a hangi pit or a hangi hole. Have you ever heard of a hangi?
ハンギーって聞いたことある
スティームフードじゃなかったなんか、
Steamed food?
is that
なん
correct?
か知ってますかハンギー
なんだろうわかんない
Hangi is a cooking method, an ancient Māori cooking method, where you would dig a hole. Inside of that hole, you'd put volcanic rocks. You would heat those rocks up with manuka woods till those rocks are glowing red. Once those stones have reached optimum temperature, they would bury these the meat of the human body in baskets wrapped in banana leaves and things like that. In harakeke, they would weave baskets to bury that food on top of the hot stones. They would bury it in the dirt, and then they would steam the food inside of the earth. Once that food had been prepared, they would pull it out of the earth where it was ready for consumption. Now, all the people that would partake in consuming this meal, the males would have their hands and feet bound. They would be placed onto their knees, and an older woman, a tohunga kai tangata, would then come around to the Māori warriors that would partake in the meal, and they would feed them the flesh of the humans. Once that cannibalistic ritual had taken place, they would then prep the heads for head shrinking. Now, head shrinking in the Māori culture was quite prominent right up until 1830, where it was outlawed in New Zealand. Now, when the English had arrived here, they started purchasing these shrunken heads. The method for shrinking the heads has slowly been lost to time. I hope to revive this incredible process, or this amazing art form, by sharing it with you all. So it starts with removal of the head. Once the head had been removed, it would be placed into a basket. This basket would be weaved out of harakeke or flax. They'd load this bag up with heads, and they would lower the heads into ocean water for around 2 to 3 days. This would start the curing process to preserve the head. These heads would then soak in the ocean for 2 to 3 days. Once they were soaked, they would pull the heads up, bury the heads into dry sand, where they would go through a 2-phase drying process. The first phase would be to bury the heads in dry sand, pull it up, bury it in dry sand until the head had gotten quite dry. Then they would hang the head up on racks and then smoke the heads with a low smoke fires and embers. These smokes would then smoke the heads until they were quite darkened and black, preserving the heads. The third part of the preservation process would be to use whale oil or shark oil, and in sometimes, in really rare cases, reserved for chiefs and things like that, they would use human oils to preserve the head. They would start by rubbing the head with oil, rubbing it through the hair, and then they would repeat this process over months. So at first time it would be 1 to 2 months, and then over the years it would be once a year. Now, with Māori shrunken heads, there's something very unique about them, was the way that they looked. So thought I would show you some of these. There's a few unique features of the Māori shrunken head. One was that, unlike other indigenous cultures, we didn't stitch the eyes or the mouth shut, we left them open. What that did was, eventually the eyes would peel back. This is the first phase. Oh,
Is that real one?
that's a real head, yeah.
Is that in somewhere in museum in this country?
Some of them in museums in this country, some of them belong to the families, and we still repeat this oiling process to this day. So I'll show you some other ones. It's a lot, eh? So this guy was a private collector. This is one of the largest collections of Māori shrunken heads, which is now resting in a museum in the USA, in Texas. Now, during this period where they were purchasing all of these shrunken heads, a lot of these heads were taken back to museums and put on display as macabre indigenous displays. Basically a way to try and attract people into the museums again. But this dark form of, display, it's quite frowned upon in the Māori people. We do have some on display. We don't have any on display, but we do have them kept in the Te Papa Museum in Wellington, where they are kept and preserved for cultural purposes. A lot of the heads, though, have been returned to their tribal lands, where they can be laid to rest so that their bodies can be taken on the journey to Rerenga Wairua. Rerenga Wairua in the Māori culture is our story of the afterlife. What happens to the dead when you die in New Zealand is all of the spirits follow a particular path from the South Island to the top of the North Island. Once they arrive to the top of the North Island, you take a dive known as tāheke down into the pohutukawa trees. You either hang on to that pohutukawa tree for those who are still clinging to life and wish to remain in the mortal realm. Otherwise, they continue downwards in the tāheke to Rarohenga, which is the place Māori known as our place of afterlife. So Māori, we don't have a heaven or hell. We just have a place you go to when you die. So there's no like divine good place if you're good, or very bad place if you're bad. We all end up in the same spiritual realm. And it is to take the tribal journey back to our homelands, our ancient spiritual homelands of Hawaii Nui, Hawaii Roa, Hawaii Pamamao. So even if you were to die here in New Zealand, you too would take the journey of Rerenga Wairua. So it's not a Māori only thing. Like if you're a Māori and you die here, that is your journey. No, it's reserved for all who pass away in Aotearoa. You too will take the journey of Rerenga Wairua. So we're going to head out here now towards Princess Street, head down from this location, where I'll tell you guys a little bit more about Rerenga Wairua. So the word I used before, tāheke, has significant meaning with my people. My tribe of Ngāpuhi, my marae is called tāheke. So my marae is named after the last great leap that you make into Rarohenga, into the spiritual realm. The reason why our marae is called that is because our marae is situated directly in the pathway of Rerenga Wairua. What does this mean? It means that, like in a spiritual sense, it means that we're in a direct pathway where all these ghosts and spirits directly run through. So our people are particularly ritualistic when it comes to ghosts and spirits, and our tribe, Ngāti Pākau, we especially, that's our specialization, is learning the rituals and customs associated with living in an area on the direct pathway of Rerenga Wairua. So in New Zealand, it means that pathways follow a certain spiritual fault line, and all the spirits that pass through this place follow that pathway and road. My marae is situated bang smack in the middle where the spirits directly go through. So we're almost like guardians of the spirits.